The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
The South Kesteven series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop located at 20 Ropery Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Welcome back to South Kesteven, everybody, to finish this week off. And I've got a really small parish for you here, which has got two villages in it. They've each got their own churches. And this one I'm stood in right now, the Romans would have known this quite well, because they had a little settlement, which is down this road right here, that was called Causennis, and they used it to smelt iron. There's no iron smelting going on these days though. In fact, there's not a lot going on at all in this particular place. I'm stood in a village called Sapperton, which means soap maker's farm. It's part of the parish of Braceby and Sapperton. Braceby and Sapperton, Breather's Farm and Soapmaker's Farm. We continue through South Kesteven today by taking on the parish of Braceby and Sapperton. This one has two villages, but a population that's absolutely minuscule. Between the two, there are just 47 people. It's a small one. A lot of the parish is farmland, but the two villages of Braceby and Sapperton can be clearly defined on the map. They both have a scattering of houses, and they each have a church, St Margaret's at Braceby and St Nicholas's at Sapperton. The northern edge of the parish is formed by the A52 Grantham to Boston Road, and the western edge is largely coincident with the former line of the Roman road King Street between Stainfield and Ancaster. Part of this boundary is the ancient Long Hollow, whilst part is the East Glen River. The whole thing is around 80 metres above sea level on the Lincolnshire limestone hills between Grantham and the Fens. Braceby and Sapperton are far too small to have their own parish council, and so they're lumped together for admin purposes with Ropsley and Humby, thus completing the set of 5 villages that I was talking about at the end of yesterday's episode. Of the two here, Sapperton is the one that I'd say is more interesting. It means soapmaker's farm, so at some point in its past, the bathroom commodity would have been commonplace here. Before that though, the Romans were smelting iron in Sapperton, because it contains the site of a small Roman town called Causennis, which lies about a mile south of the modern village. We'll talk about that in a bit of detail as we go around these two lovely villages. Let's go. So today we have two villages to see within the same parish, and they're almost carbon copies of each other. Both Braceby and Sapperton are tiny, linear settlements, each with a church. They used to be their own civil parishes too, until on the 1st of April 1931 they were abolished and merged with each other to form what we have today. We start with Sapperton, which is the one that occupies the southern reaches of the parish. Its name literally means soapmaker's farm, but nobody does that here these days. Sapperton is a sleepy little village with a really small population. The main road through it has most of, if not all of its main features, the largest being the Church of St Nicholas. The road through the village is the biggest clue to Sapperton's history. It's called Roman Road, and the Romans would have known this place well. South of the village, about 1 mile away from the centre of modern-day Sapperton, is the site of Causennis. It was a Roman settlement located near the source of the East Glen River. Causennis was excavated between 1973 and 1981, and again from 1984 to 1988. The workings revealed some stone buildings, iron smelting furnaces, and various Roman artefacts. Several buildings found dated back to the 3rd and 4th centuries, forming a ribbon development along the road. 4 infant burials were also recorded, 2 of which were buried with jars and were enclosed by a fragment of a semicircular wall. In terms of modern buildings, nothing in Sapperton predates the Church of St Nicholas. The second oldest building is Sapperton Hall, which is Grade 2 listed and dates from the 16th century. The place is too small to sustain a school, a shop, a post office, or any other sort of facilities. One has to wonder what the Romans had here in their time. Well, believe it or not, that was one end of Sapperton to the other. It took me less than 10 minutes. That shows you just how small this place is. And Braceby is a carbon copy of this, so we'll see that in a few moments' time, and you'll think you're in the same place. They do both have their own churches, though, and they are different. Here we have the one in Sapperton, which is at the western end of civilization here. So let's head on in there and see what this one's all about, shall we? This is the church sitting at the western end of the village. Like the hall, this is Grade 2 listed. Although mostly built in the 12th century, parts of it are from other centuries. The church is of Norman origin, built on some early pre-conquest piers. It's a fairly basic structure consisting of a west tower, a nave and a chancel. The chancel is one of the shallowest in Lincolnshire. The 13th century tower is square, heavily buttressed, with a tiny recessed spire and a large plain parapet. In the tower is a single bell, cast by Thomas Mears of Whitechapel, London in 1825. It's likely a recast, but nobody knows who the founder of the previous bell was. Visitors enter the church through the south doorway, which has a pointed arch with dogtooth carving. This dates from the early 13th century. The chancel arch also dates from the 13th century, whilst the pews and pulpit date from a Victorian restoration in 1897. The arch contains a coloured carving of the crucifixion, with Christ, Mary and John in their traditional positions alongside the cross. It made its way here from the nearby redundant church at Haseby. Although aisleless, architectural evidence would suggest that there was once a north aisle here. That fact is obvious from the interior, where you'll find an arcade, very much intact and filled in. So here in the church in Sapperton, they obviously get a few visitors. They've got these tea, coffee and refreshments all available. The only biscuits they have here are Biscoff. I'm not terribly keen on these, but it's the only thing they've got, so yeah, I don't mind if I do. I'll have a drink as well, because it's getting quite warm. So, with one village behind us, let's drive the short distance from Sapperton to Braceby, where it's pretty much going to be the same kind of story. Okay, so here we are in Braceby, and like I said, carbon copy almost. The road layout is slightly different here because it's more on sort of a gentle curve Braceby, whereas Sapperton is kind of a one long straight road. So we'll walk from this end to the other end and find the church yet again, just like we did in Sapperton, and then we're pretty much done. Braceby lies to the south of the A52, about 6 miles east of Grantham. Like Sapperton, it has a tiny population. The latest census recorded just 25 souls residing here. The population hit its peak in around 1861 when there were 168 inhabitants in 37 houses. Since then, there's been a sharp decline. By 1970 it was less than 20. It could well have been deserted today, but for a decision by the local landowners, the Welby family, to sell off some empty and unwanted cottages around that time. Their sale would lead to some recovery and was instrumental in saving the Church of St Margaret from closure. Economically, Braceby is a farming village. Cattle and sheep farmers have largely given way to arable crops since the 1970s, but a small amount of permanent grazing remains. Many of Braceby's buildings, especially those dating from the 16th and 17th centuries, are built of limestone, which was quarried locally in the district at places such as Ancaster. As well as houses and the church, Braceby includes a roadside nature reserve, one of 65 maintained by the Lincolnshire Wildlife Trust under a local government scheme dating back to 1960. It shelters some 250 species of plant life. Notable among them are early purple orchids, common orchids and cowslips. Well, I suppose if there is one noticeable difference between Braceby and Sapperton, it's that Braceby is a lot more leafy, isn't it? From end to end there, you're virtually shrouded in trees and foliage. It's in the shade. It's quite nice when it's quite warm like this, actually. And within those trees, to the left-hand side of shop right now, is the church. And we're going to head into that to finish this episode off. Let's take a look at the church here then. St Margaret's dates back to the 13th century, but was restored in the 19th. It's part of a group of 7 which form the North Beltisloe group. Like St Nicholas's at Sapperton, the structure here is pretty simple. It consists of a west bellcote, a nave with clerestories, a south porch, a north aisle and a chancel. It appears as if there's never been a tower here. As with Sapperton previously, this church has lost an aisle. The south aisle was taken down and bricked up at some point in its history. Arguably, the most interesting part of this church is its bellcote. It holds 2 bells of considerable age and importance. The oldest of the 2 dates back to around 1200 and is thought to be the second oldest bell in Lincolnshire. The other bell dates from around 1500. You may notice several pentagons inside this church around the frame of the door. Today, the pentagon is associated with black magic, but in days long gone it was a Christian symbol. It was used as a protection against evil, and although now mostly out of fashion, some people strongly object to their presence being in their churches. It's also said that the pentagon was used as a symbol of Christ's passion, with the 5 points symbolising the 5 wounds of the crucifixion, both hands, both feet, and a spear in his side. Outside, there's a scattering of gravestones in the church grounds, but nothing of any great interest or rarity. It appears that there was a substantial gravestone clearance here at some point in the past. And effectively that's it, but we've just got one last job to do here in Braceby and Sapperton, and that's leave a card on the parish notice board. There was one of these in Sapperton as well, but it's the people of Braceby who are going to get my card. There we go. That's another south... Oh, it fell off. Let's do it again. Let's try that again. There we go, that's better. Braceby and Sapperton in the books. And we are through Braceby and Sapperton, 2 tiny villages with not a lot in them, but now they're both on the map. Time to head out of Lincolnshire for a bit now, and head instead for Cambridgeshire. No fear though, I'll be back very soon to tick off a few more in South Kesteven. just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.